In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a historic moment in Black media. Today marks the 100th episode for Season 3 of America in Black and White, a platform born from truth, built on legacy, and powered by community. From our first broadcast to this very moment, we've held space for voices that challenge, uplift, and transform. And what better way to honor this milestone than with a guest whose life embodies the very principles we stand for? On this sacred day of August 28th, the anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, we welcome Dr. David Banks. He's an educator, a consultant, a workforce architect, and community visionary. This isn't just an interview, it's a masterclass in movement building. Dr. David Banks is a president of Noble Success Strategic Group, is a distinguished purpose discovery specialist. With a wealth of expertise, he holds certifications as a speaker, trainer, coach from John Maxwell, as well as being a certified professional coach, certified neuroscience coach, success coach, and accomplished author. He is a certified entrepreneurship and business coach. Dr. Banks specializes in cultivating relationships, fostering success, nurturing leadership skills, and inspiring motivation and purpose discovery. He captivates audiences ranging from government officials to corporate executives through engaging live and virtual trainings across the globe in countries like the United States, India, Trinidad and Tobago, Pakistan, Australia, Belgium, Africa, and the Philippines. A two-time best-selling Amazon International best-selling author, Dr. Banks has collaborated with luminaries like Les Brown and Dr. Cheryl Wood. Beyond his professional endeavors, he finds joy in painting, running half marathons, and indulging in golf. Residing in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Dr. David Banks and his wife, Lady Sevilla, are proud parents to 3 children. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to stage Dr. David Banks. Hello, sir.
Hello, Charles. How are you, sir?
I am just excellent. How are you?
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, I appreciate you being here. And is there anything that you'd like to add to your bio before we actually get into the show?
Basically, Charles, my purpose is to impact and empower people to succeed in their personal and professional life in order for them to be productive and fulfilled. That is my original design, and that is why I'm on this earth. So I thank God for just giving me opportunities every day to be able to walk that out.
Oh, wow. But that's a very special thing. And I'm glad that you're here to share that because that's what this platform is about.
Awesome, awesome.
So let's start with your career foundations and consulting vision. Can you tell us what inspired your journey into consulting and education reform?
I think years ago, I think it goes all the way back, Charles, in kindergarten. In kindergarten, whoever is the fastest person to get in the line, they are
Mhm.
considered what? The line leader. And
Yes.
everybody else has to understand if Johnny is the fastest, then sometime it gets to the point, why even try? Johnny going to get
Right.
there first. So even at that young age, Charles, I realized we've been conditioned to realize there can only be one leader. And if
Right.
you're not fast, if you're not savvy, you'll never. And that has always grieved me. I
Mhm.
remember when I was young in kindergarten, Charles, I still remember this. My report card always says David is a great student, but he talks too much. And I started thinking, what was I doing that was talking too much? And Charles, it's amazing that God kept a memory when I was in kindergarten. When I was in kindergarten, if I wanted to go to the bathroom, I ended up, and it was on the other side of the room. Charles, I would get up and I would check on every single student until I got to the bathroom. And after I finished, I would come back and I would check on every student coming back to my seat. And I remember there was a little girl. She had her head on the desk and she was just crying. And I realized, Charles, she didn't make it to the bathroom. So she was
Oh.
sitting there so embarrassed. And I put my arms around her, just put my arms around her and just said,
Mhm.
it's going to be all right. And in that very moment, Charles, David, get back to your seat. Get back to your seat and stop. And I just realized and I've always loved people. And I
Mhm.
always really I really want people to know that they can succeed in their lives. And that has just really been inside of me ever since that young age.
Oh, wow. So, how did your early experiences shape your approach to leadership?
Um, I think, like I said, growing up, unfortunately, I was not the fastest.
Mhm.
So I think a huge intricate part in my life happened when I was in the sixth grade. I'm 6'5".
Mhm.
I'm the youngest of my siblings. I have a 10-year older brother, 5-year older sister. So I'm the tallest. And I tried out for basketball team because I wanted to get validation from my father. He was a very serious man. He married my mom, very
Mhm.
serious. His whole focus is, long as I provide for you, boy, that's good enough. So I wanted to do something to really get validation. So I tried out for the basketball team and I made it. I was so
Mhm.
excited, Charles. I was so excited. And I'm thinking, man, maybe if I go home and tell him I made the basketball team, maybe that would really get some validation. So as I was coming home from the tryout, I had it in my mind, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell him I made the basketball team, and then he is going to say, oh, son, you're awesome. You're great. Had it all played out. I got home. My dad worked at a labor job, so he always took a nap before dinner. So I got home, woke him up, and I said, Dad, I made the basketball team. And thinking, Charles, okay, now I done said what I need to say. He's going to say what I'm thinking he needs to say. But unfortunately, Charles, he looked at me and he said, you will never amount to anything. You
Oh.
will never succeed at anything. And he went back to sleep. And Charles, it happened so fast because it's almost like he was saying what he was saying, but in my mind, I'm thinking he's saying what I'm thinking he needs to say. And I realized, wait a minute, he didn't say what I thought. And he went back to sleep. So I'm thinking, should I wake him up and say and start this thing over again? But something said, hey, David, you heard what you heard. And Charles, that took me down a very, very that was took me to a low. I played that year in sixth grade, but I realized very soon that this is not what I need to do. So that was middle school, high school, and then in college, Charles. That's when things started turning around. I read this book by my mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, In Pursuit of Purpose.
Mhm.
And that book, it didn't tell me what my purpose was, but it really started helping me to understand that your purpose came before anything from your past ever happened. You were born with your purpose. And that really started helping me to get on this leadership journey to really start helping everyone. Everybody is a leader of their purpose. You may not be the CEO of a company, or you may be sitting in a cubicle, but whatever your purpose is, that's what you're a leader of. So that really helped me to just framework everything that I do now, because now in my business, Noble Success Strategic Group is just helping everybody I can, help them to understand there is a leader inside of you, and there's a purpose inside of you as well.
Oh wow. So, did this kind of how down were you and for how long were you down after hearing that,
Uh,
before you bounced back and you had the resilience to keep pushing?
um, all through middle school,
Hmm.
all through high school, it was
Hmm.
tough. I remember in high school, uh, some of the teachers met with me and the principal, and they said, "David, you're really really smart. We would like to really put you in a gifted class."
Hmm.
Even though they said that, Charles, all I heard was the words from my father: "You will never succeed at anything." So I gracefully refused and said, "Thank you guys, but
Wow.
I'm fine. I'm fine where I am." They were shocked. They were like, "Hey, we're giving you an opportunity here. We want to put you in a gifted class." And I said, "No, thank you." And I
Mhm.
look back on that and I just realized, wow, it really hindered me for some opportunities. But yeah, like I said, in college, when I read that book by Miles Monroe, In Pursuit of Purpose, that really started helping change the trajectory in my life.
Did you and your father ever reconcile?
Oh man, I got to tell you this. So after college, I moved away, and my dad had retired. His health was failing, and they said, "Hey, David, we don't think he's going to make it." So I went down um, in Covington, Georgia. That's where he was,
Hmm.
and I walked in the room. He was asleep. Nobody else was in the room, so he was asleep when I got there. So I was sitting there, and when he woke up, he saw me. And
Hmm.
Charles, the first thing he said was, "I'm sorry." And
Oh.
I'm like, but something hit me. Something hit me, said, and he a little tear came, and he just said, "I'm sorry." He didn't say anything about the sixth grade, but I
Right.
knew, man, when I looked at his eyes and he looked at me, you know how men, we don't have to say it. We just
Right.
look. And
Yes.
I said, yeah, I said, "Dad, hey, no problem." Because I had worked through it, I had worked through it, didn't have any bitterness held against it, because I understood my dad only knew what he saw his father do. So I couldn't
Hmm.
put a whole lot of blame, because, my grandfather, his father, was very much the same, you know. And so that was that morning, that lunchtime. My mom was in the room, and he was getting ready to go into rehab the next day. So my mom and sister was in the room talking. He was eating lunch. I was at the edge of the bed. And after he was eating lunch, he started smiling and laughing. And I had never seen that, because my dad was so serious.
Hmm.
And he looked up at me and he said, "I love you."
Oh.
Charles, he had never, because again, not to say he didn't love me, but like I said, his language of love is
Yeah.
providing, you know.
Right.
And I was looking kind of like, is he talking to me? Is he talking to everybody? What? And I realized, because mom and my sister were talking to each other, so they didn't even hear it. So I knew he was talking to me. And
Right.
I just looked back and said, "I love you too, Dad." And so, he seemed to be better. So I was like, all right, it's time for me to go back to Chattanooga. So I was so excited going back and realized, wow, sometimes you don't have to have a lot of words, but I just felt like, wow, we were able to kind of bring closure to that chapter. And
Hmm.
I was so excited. That was a Saturday. Sunday morning, I got a call from my mom. He died during the night.
Oh. I'm sorry for your loss.
And I said, wow. But even though it was a sad time, I still treasured those "I love you." That was the
Yeah.
last words that he told me. So yeah, that has really shaped my life.
Mm. What does business fingerprint mean in your work with small businesses?
What I truly believe Purpose Fingerprint is really helping business owners to really find their lane and own it.
Mhm,
As business owners, we spend a lot of time worried about our competition. We
mhm.
worry about our competitors. But one thing that I have found, when you understand what your purpose is, it really sets you in a lane all by yourself. So when I created Noble Success Strategic Group, I wanted to help business owners to really understand what their purpose fingerprint and really help them to create a lane all by themselves. Because I saw a picture in Facebook, two swimmers, and one swimmer was keep watching the other one. Well, as he was watching the other one won. And I'm realizing the more you watch your competitors, you're not going to win.
Right.
So I think, hey, let's find what your specialty is. Let's find your niche. Let's find your purpose fingerprint and let's master that because nobody can do that. So that is what I really, really am really excited about is working with business owners, helping them to develop that.
Okay. How do you help entrepreneurs identify their unique values in competitive markets?
Ah, excellent. Well, I always think it goes back to what their purpose is. I believe there are three dimensions of purpose. The first one is called purpose blueprint. Purpose blueprint is basically the universal purpose for us all. I truly
Mhm.
believe God positioned us on the earth to impact others in a positive manner. That's a universal blueprint for everyone. Now, after that is purpose fingerprint. Now, that is your unique way how you are going to do your purpose blueprint. So helping them to understand that. And then thirdly is your purpose footprint. Once you understand your purpose, then you can be properly positioned to be able to really utilize your purpose. Now, so many times when we think about niches, we got to think the best brand new. And niche doesn't always have to be the latest and greatest that nobody's ever seen. Niche can basically be improving on something you've already seen. So
Mhm.
when I work with business owners, I'm just realizing what do you master? What are you focused on? And what are some things that we can do to make it a little bit different? And helping them to be able to do that because we don't always have to think of the latest and greatest. We can just look at what we're doing and make it better.
Mm. So, what's the biggest misconception about consulting in underserved communities?
Ah, good one, good one. I think in underserved communities, sometimes being an outsider, because they're thinking, look, you don't live in this community, so you don't know what we are going
Mhm.
through. So sometimes that misconception, since I don't live here, I can't help you. But I say it like this, Charles, a doctor does not have to have every disease to be able to treat your
That is
disease.
true.
So I think it's important for undeserved communities to understand sometimes having an outsider can help because sometimes when you in it, you don't see
Mhm.
everything. Or some things you see, you just think, but that's just common. But having somebody on the outside that can look in and say, this, you can do this better. So I think the misconception is since you are looked at as an outsider, you don't live in this neighborhood, you didn't grow up in this neighborhood, so there is not a whole lot you can tell us to help us in our
Mhm.
neighborhood. And that's a misconception because I think sometimes having fresh eyes and you've never been in there, definitely you can see some things they can't see or they see but think it's still normal.
Right. I got you. I got you. So like, but when you go to underserved communities and you're just like doing just work in general, or you working with a business, what is it that you do to help the business or the people there to just feel comfortable about you and your purpose?
I got you. Well, always the first thing, always let people know I'm here to listen.
Mhm.
So many times as a business consultant, it's almost this mindset. I'm coming in to tell you what you
Mhm.
need. I realize that, and I think that, with my PhD in counseling, the best thing you can do in anything is
Mhm.
listen. So anytime when I go to a business owner or undeserved community, first I need to listen. And you tell me how I can help you. And Charles, that has really given me a lot of credibility. That has given me a lot of respect because they know, well, Dr. Banks is not just coming in here and saying, y'all need to do this, this. He
Mhm.
listens. And I say, you tell me how I can help you. I know I can help you, but I need you to tell me how. What do you need help in? So sometime going in and really being that
Mhm.
student, really having that listening ear and just let them share, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I need help with. All right, we can help work with that.
Mm. So, like normally, when you assess situations with some of your clients, especially those in the underserved communities, normally are those assessments like maybe like pages of information, or is it like basically the 10 most important points that you need to know about them?
Basic questions first, just tell me about your business, tell me about how long. But here's the most strategic thing. I ask them, tell me what pain points you have.
Okay.
Give me at least three. Tell me what your pain points. What's happening in your business or gaps or pain points? And then the second question I ask is how much is this pain point costing you?
Mm.
Charles, that's something they've never thought about because sadly, most business owners they tolerate their pain points and don't understand that it's costing them. you know, it is costing them. I remember talking to one lady, she was just like, I've never thought about that. And I said, well, just kind of figure just how much she thought about it. She said, oh man, probably like 12,000 a month. And I said, all right, so you see, this pain point has to be dealt with. So it's just really asking some of those basic pertinent questions. Tell me about your business, how long you've been in business, but the main two focus is what pain points are you dealing with and how much is it costing you? Because when it starts hitting numbers and realizing, man, I'm tolerating something that is costing me money. So
Mm. So, how do you balance strategy with cultural sensitivity in your consulting practice?
um, I'm always aware definitely of culture sensitivity. And, when I work with organizations, work with communities, and I'm aware of those, but everything that I do, I definitely want to make sure that there is order and there is area of productivity. So I'm always very sensitive to various things, but I always want to make sure if you want your business to succeed, you got to have order. You got to have order and you got to have structure to create productivity. So I take in consideration various culture sensitivities, but I definitely want to make sure those strategies is really so they can definitely, as a business, have order, be productive, and definitely create profits.
Mm. What role does faith play in your professional decision making?
Uh, it plays a big role. It definitely plays a big role. I am a man of faith, and I know one of the things that I help people do is the power of belief. So many times in our world, we have the mindset of I have to see it to believe it.
Yep.
I have to see it to believe it. Well, you have to understand that doesn't always work. That doesn't always work. So, as a man of faith, faith is definitely what? Believing something you don't see, but you are expecting to see. So,
Mm.
faith plays a big part. Now, if I'm working with a client that faith is not they not a person of faith, but definitely they understand belief.
Mhm.
So I just have the wherewithal to be able to work with everyone, but it still comes from biblical principles. Definitely, if I'm working with a person of faith, definitely we may share scriptures, I may share, but if that's not their interest, I'm still applying the principles. The principles work whether you share the verse or not. The power is not in the verse, the power is in the scripture.
Mhm.
So yeah, I am a firm believer in the power of belief, and that is how I operate my business. I don't walk by what I see, I walk by what I believe to see.
Mhm.
And that is what I translate into every person that I'm working with.
So, can you share a breakthrough moment from your consulting career?
Yes, a breakthrough moment. I was helping a business owner. He has a bookkeeping business, bookkeeping and tax prep. So I started meeting with him, and he was just getting started this year. And this is what he said to me, Charles. He said, Dr. Banks, I just want to just have a nice set of clients, basically comfortable.
Right.
That's what I want. I just want a nice couple clients. And I said, well, I'm not your person. I don't do things to get you comfortable, because I knew he was conscious mind. His conscious mind was talking, because your conscious mind wants you to be safe.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, that works in some aspects, but as a business owner, that means you're not going to open for
No.
risk. So when I first met with him and I said, well, hey, if you want me to work with you, that's why I need to help you discover your purpose, because your conscious mind wants you to be safe, but your purpose is unlimited. So when I helped him discover his purpose and start helping him to really shift from this, I want to be safe, but now he has, man, his business has grown. He has gotten out of this mindset. I just want to be safe and secure, but now he's creating things. So it was awesome. When I saw him last, and he just said, I'm still working with him, but he just said, Dr. Banks, you've changed how I have thought about business, how I see myself. And that was truly, truly, it was exciting, because he said, before I can really start accepting any profits and major breakthroughs in my business, I got to change how I see myself. So it's been pretty awesome to see that
Wow.
change.
So, how do you measure impact when working with small businesses?
Well, in any business, at the beginning, I'm asking pain points, and then I be said, begin with the end in mind. So after I kind of get your pain points, what you're dealing with, then I said, all right, let's go into the future. What do you want your business to become? Let's think futuristic. What do you want your business to become? So that when they start talking about that, then I have something to measure. I
Mhm.
do this in a business because my whole thing, because I'm thinking I'm in business, why did I take psychology? My friend, psychology was the best thing. Instead of getting an MBA, I got a psychology degree, because everything starts with how you think.
Yep.
So one of the things that I do in my business is help them stretch their thinking. So I'd help them to develop their mindset in threes. The first is what's present. Second, what's possible. Third, what seems impossible. So I
Mm.
take them through this focus. All right, what's present? So, how many clients do you have presently? And I always say, stay aware of what's happening presently, but don't accept what happens presently, because whatever you accept, that's how it's going to
Mhm.
stay. So, let's find out how many clients you have now. Now, what's possible? And then what seems impossible,
Mhm.
because I want them to think to that degree. And Charles, that has helped tremendously for them to now. So now, all the clients that I'm working with, even though they are working presently, they are mentally thinking what seems
Wow.
impossible.
It seems like, you're more than just, just that consultant, because, it comes across, with your approach, at least from what I'm seeing, it's like you're like You're like family. You're like a brother that's actually putting more into helping them to put more into the soup because you want the soup to be hearty.
That's it.
And so, and helping them to change the mind frame that they have means that once they change that and they can open up the eyeballs,
That's
that the
right.
world is out there for them.
That's right.
Wow, so that's interesting.
Well,
Because
I
I
think it's a
think
great approach.
yeah, because that hands-on approach, I think, is actually is more personable, and it sounds like it's one of those things that people would learn to appreciate a whole lot more because they know that you're not somebody that's trying to take all their money.
That's right. And what I cited, words are very important. Words are very
Right,
important. So when I started out, I would say clients.
right.
But then I started realizing, no, David, let's call them partners.
Okay.
So I am partnering with them because anytime I'm working with them, I'm doing something and they're doing something. So we're partnered together. Because sometimes clients and consultant means I'm the consultant. I'm telling you, the client, this is what you need to do, and I'll see you next
Yeah.
week. But no, I say, look, we're partnering. This is something I'm going to work on towards your business. This is something you need. And when they see that, hey, we are both working together, then they really see, wow, this thing can really work because hey, we're in this thing together. And I want people, when I see young business owners, they trying to make it. They trying to make it, and as you know, they can't trust everybody. So the people they do trust, they really put it. So I've definitely seen this approach has really been effective.
So let me ask you, what just an overall perspective and how you build business and how your business is going. Can you tell us why did you decide to work with people that are in the underserved and marginalized communities to help those businesses grow?
Because I knew, Charles, they didn't have all of the advantages as the others. They didn't have an uncle that's, hey, uncle, can I get $10,000 to start my business? Oh, sure. I knew they didn't have a lot of those resources, you know? And so I just realized that, hey, they need help
Yes.
too. They need help too. And I didn't want them to suffer because, they didn't have the resources, they didn't have that. So that really caused me to, hey, let's make sure that they get a hand up too, because they got some great ideas. I've talked to people, got this lady that I'm working with now, she has so many ideas. And I said, I want to help you. I want to help you. I want to believe with you. I love to see people get started developing things and just seeing them grow.
Mm. So, what advice would you give to aspiring Black consultants entering the field?
Oh man. I think so many times when you think you're a consultant, you think I have all the wisdom and they don't. I would tell any Black consultants that are going into this field is to stay being a student.
Yes.
The person, whatever company, business owner you're working with, guess what? They know more about what they want than you do at the
Yep.
time. So be careful with thinking, I got all of this wisdom and you need me to give you. Don't do that. Don't do that. You got you got a lot of wisdom, but always go as a student. Always come and say, let me learn about you. How can I work with you? How can I help with you? I think that's the biggest thing because, like I said, the consultant, you think I have all of this wisdom, and you need to pay me so I can give it to you. You really want to look in a mindset of thinking, I want to be a student. Let me learn. Let me learn. You know that idea. Now I'm going to help you put it in practice, but you know what you're doing. You know the product that you are wanting to serve. So I can come alongside of you for a season to really help you put those things in place.
Mm. So let's let's transition over to your work in workforce development and economic empowerment.
Yes.
So can you tell us what drew you to workforce development as a core mission?
Oh man. All right. Many years ago, I went to a career center. I went to a career center and I walked in there. I just got my business started and it was in a strip mall and my office was down, down. So I walked in there and I said, "What do you guys do?" And they said, "Hey, we help people find jobs. We help people find jobs." Now, Charles, when I looked in the lobby area, I saw people with bonnets and house shoes and pajamas. I was like, "You're trying to help them find a job?" And they just like, "Yeah, Dr. Banks. Yeah, yeah." So I said, "Well, what's happening?" And they said, "Well, it's taking us forever trying to get them to look the part. So we got to spend several sessions saying, look, house shoes, bonnets, that's not going to work.
Mm.
Handshake, eye contact." So I said, "Hey, what if I could create a program to address all of that? Why don't I create a program to address all of these things and then hand them over to you and you would be, you don't have to deal with all that?" And they said, "Man, yeah, we would love that." So I created a program and just dealt with mindset because everything is mindset. The reason why they wear bonnets and house shoes and pajamas is their
Right.
mindset. So I said, if I can tackle that, if I can get that survival mindset out of them and help them to think
Mhm.
success, then they'll be ready. So I got a success story. There was a lady, and I was working at the city. And the way it was set up, if you came to the city and said, "Hey, I need someone to pay my electric bill," they would have to take my 4 hour
Right.
class. Now, as you know, that is not something they come up there for, But they said, if you want us to help you, you got to take Dr. Banks' class. So I remember this lady, she came in, sat in the back. She did not want to be there, and everything on her face showed that she did not want to be there. But I talked about survival and
Right.
success. How many of y'all enjoy survival? Well, no, Dr. Banks, we don't like it. We don't like it. Well, how many of you would like to know how to succeed? Yeah, yeah. So when she's heard that, she kind of leaned in. She started taking notes. So she took the 4 hour class. Now, little did I know, she came back a year later. She came, yeah, maybe 2 years. Yeah, she came back 2 years later and she said, "Dr. Banks, I got something for you." It was a thank you note. And I said, "What is this?" And she said, "Dr. Banks, 2 years ago, I came to your class. I did not want to be there. I just wanted them to pay my electric bill. But they said, you have to take this class." But she said, "After when I was in your class, you talked about survival and success, that you don't have to stay in survival. You can actually
Mhm.
succeed." And she said, taking notes in your class, that inspired me. Soon as I finished that class, I went to a state college and enrolled.
Wow.
And now I went and did my 2 years there and I graduated,
Oh, wow.
Charles. And she said, "Now I'm getting ready to go and get my bachelor's."
Oh, man.
Charles, right there, Charles, that is what I do. That's why I do what I
Yes.
do. Here is a woman, a single mother,
Mhm.
didn't even have in her mindset about school,
Mhm.
but somebody was there at the right place at the right time, didn't judge her,
Mhm.
but just made her
Yup.
think. You see? I didn't judge her. You don't have to stay in survival mode. You can actually succeed. And I was so
Mhm.
proud of her. I was so proud of her. After she got her bachelor's, she sent me a picture of her in a cap and gown. I said, "Charles, this is why I do what I do."
Exactly. I've got a question here in the chat from Kenneth Eason.
Yes,
And
sir.
he says, "Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ken Eason. Dr. Banks, continuing in the vein of belief, how do you get those you consult with to see potential? The value of the work you put into the value of the work put into realize it in light of our desire for quick results.
Excellent, excellent question. All right, there is a principle that I call next level thinking. Next level thinking. So what I do is I have them to put this diagram where they have a line here and they have a line here. Now this line here, I said, put your name and the date. And then I said, this line up here, tell me what you want to become. Tell me what you want to do. All right. So I have them to think about that. And they say, I want to start a business. I want to own my own home. I want this and this. And then I say this, Charles. I say, now, do you see the difference? This is where you are, and this is what you want. Now, are they on the same level? They're going to say what? No, they're not on the same level. So I start helping them to understand that whatever they want to become, whatever they want to do is on another level. All right. Now, this is on another level. Here's the question I asked them. If everything you want is on another level, then you have to ask, who's really waiting on who? Charles, they're waiting on it, or is it waiting you?
Wait.
Charles, they start realizing, wait a minute,
Yes.
everything I want is waiting on me. It blew their minds because I said so many times people are wishing things would get better, worried about whether things are going to get better, wishing things are going to get better, or just wasting time. But when they start understanding that, wait a minute, everything that I want is waiting on me. So Ken, going back to that question, they have to understand if it's waiting on me, I got to put some steps in place. I got to unlock my potential and get it and make it happen, because it's not going to come to me. I have to go to it. And when they start getting that in their mind that, hey, and I tell them, success is waiting on you. So you're going to have to do something to make it happen. And those that are ready for that will start doing some things.
Mm. So, how does your work address generational poverty and employment gaps?
Oh, man. Well, I always tell people, you got to learn how to package your past. You got to learn how to package your past. Everybody has a past. You know, when I talk to felons and they're saying, Dr. Banks, I don't even want to try because I know I got to deal with that question on the application. Have you had a felony? And how do I deal with gaps? You know, I got locked up a couple of years, so I didn't work. So I always say it's leveraging. I always tell people in undeserved community, what have you learned from your past? What have you learned from it? Trying to defend it, as you know, Charles, doesn't work.
No.
Your past is your past.
Yes.
Trying to defend it. Well, I didn't really rob that store, but they saw you on camera. So trying to defend it doesn't work. But just realize, hey, what did I learn? What did I learn from it? And what am I doing to address it?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do when I teach single mothers
Mm-hmm.
in Section 8,
Mm-hmm.
I teach them work skills. So what organization? So I come in and I teach this professional development, work ethics, work skills, and I give them a certificate. Now, this is the strategy, Charles. They got somebody else working on a resume. But I said, when you go to that employment, you got your resume and you got this certificate. Now, they know what a resume is. They don't know what this certificate is. You see that, Charles? So they're going to look at the resume and see you strategize it. Here's my resume. And then Hint, hint. Here is a certificate that I took. It's a professional development class.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're going to interested in, okay, so what is this certificate? Well, in this professional development class, it taught me how to have good work ethics. It taught me how to submit to authority. It taught me how to understand how to follow through. Charles, by the time they heard that, do they even care anything about that
No,
resume?
no,
No,
they don't.
because it taught me how to be an effective leader. It taught me how to submit to leadership. It taught me how to work with teams. My friend, you just talk yourself
Yes,
into a job.
exactly.
That my strategy when I'm working with the undeserved is get
Mm.
educated, learn these principles.
Wow.
It goes,
So can you tell me, I think that's genius, that certification. What made you come up with this? What made you come
that's
up with the
right.
certificate?
Well, I just thought because I'm thinking, because before I'm thinking, what kind of resume is going to be impressive?
Right.
You got a record. You've been in jail for 10 years. What are you going to put on your resume? So I'm thinking, yeah, I know it's stationary to have a resume, but I'm thinking with the undeserved, that is not going to help you the best. So I thought if I had a certificate that I gave them to prove they took this class and then taught them how to make this class work for them. And I've seen people get more jobs, not because of their resume, not because of their past, it's because simply taking this
Mhm.
class and understanding how it works. Because at the end of the day, they want to know, can you work effectively now?
Mhm.
All right. So that's why I decided, they need a little bit something else. And just telling them that they took a class, I thought it just helps them tremendously just having a nice certificate
Mhm.
there. And when I worked at the city, I signed it, had the mayor to sign it. So it has some street creds, if you want to say. It has some credibility. Instead of they created it on their own, it has some credibility on it. And it helped several
Wow.
people get some real nice
I
employment
really like that.
opportunities.
That makes a lot of sense. And also, as you say, it kind of like it helps them in a way. Of course, they're not realizing it until it happens, but it also should be this sense of accomplishment that they went through and they actually spent the time to learn this and they know what this is about.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. And I created, years ago, I had been certified as a DIS personality assessment. So I created my own. It's called DOSA. So it helps them to understand personalities, other personalities. Because I said, guys, but if you don't know how to work with people, you're
Mhm.
never going to get anywhere. So I
Absolutely.
have that as a part of that to just teach them the different personalities. And people have been amazed. I remember one guy said, Dr. Banks, I don't know what's happening, but every time I feel like I do great at the interview, but I don't ever get the job. So when I talk about the different personalities, well, one personality is called the supporter. And I
Mhm.
tell each one of them they do something. So D is driven. So I do an act, I do a little acting and say, this is what a driven person does. So when a driven person comes out of his office, hello, Charles, how you doing? Shake my hand. Let's go in. Let's get the things going because that's a driven personality.
Right.
All right. Now, what happens if I say, come on, let's get started, and you just lollygag?
Oh no, you ain't trying to be bothered with that.
That's not going to go
No,
well.
it's not.
You see what I'm
No.
saying? I always say how you interact, that first impression.
Yes.
And I said each of these personalities, they do something at the beginning. If you catch it and coincides with it, you're going to be all right. So a driven person, when they say, come on in, let's get started, that's what you need to be doing. The second one is optimistic. The optimistic person is going to say, Charles, it's so good to have you. Man, isn't it a great day? Guess what they want to
Yeah.
hear? Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yes, it is. It's a great day. All right. So S is supporter. Supporter is going to say, Charles, hey, thank you so much for being here. Hey, can I offer you coffee and water? You're supposed to say one of
Mhm.
them. A is analytical. Analytical, they are very process oriented, detailed. So they're going to ask you an analytical question is, Charles, where do you see yourself in
Yep.
5 years? Where do you see yourself in a year? And give us detail. After I explained that, that guy came back to me and said, Dr. Banks, I know why I didn't get the job because I had a supporter and they asked me, do you want coffee or water? And I said, no, thank you. I said, no, thank you. And I said, you don't want to do that to a supporter. If they offer you, you better ask. And they said, Dr. Banks, is it that serious? Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It's that serious.
Ken said, great response to his question and thank you. And he has another question, another comment. He says, I like the idea of the certificate that shows the completing of transformation from being someone who was questioning things to becoming someone who can be responsible and reliable. Have you had many requests to relocate, well, to replicate this process? If so, how widespread is the demand for the process you've developed?
Ah, man, I've done it here in Chattanooga, but man, Charles, I will go where anyone will allow me. I think it's a phenomenal. I really haven't done a lot in other markets, but yes, if any other market would love this concept because it works, Charles, it works. It gives those participants, it gives them a sense of confidence and it gives them a sense that wow, as you know, some of these people they didn't graduate
Right,
high
right.
school, they didn't graduate, they didn't go to college, but just having that nice certificate to say, hey, I took this class, these are the proficiencies that I have learned. So definitely, Kenneth, I haven't really went into other markets, but yeah, I think it's a great idea, and yeah, I would love to share it because it is really helping.
Yeah, because I mean that's why I had to make that comment as well, because I mean I think that idea is totally brilliant. And what it does is it more than just offers, not just the support that these people need in order to get jobs, but it also shows that they are putting in the work. So if they're putting in the work, let's reward that effort, give them that opportunity.
That's right. That's very true. Very, very true. And I always say, guys, my goal is not just trying to get you another job. That's not my
Mhm,
focus. I'm giving you principles for life.
mhm.
Just getting another job, that's is more than that. So the principles that I share with them is not just what to do in an interview, but work ethics and just how to really live successfully.
So, what are the key pillars of a successful workforce development program?
The key pillars. I definitely think mindset. So many times when I go to others, learn other work ethics program, they immediately jump in. All right, how to write a resume, interview skills. And I'm realizing that's not where you need to start. You first got to help them think. I remember years ago, I was working with the Urban League and they had this grant. They got this grant to be able to help mothers on welfare to develop work skills. So they said, Dr. Banks, we want to hire you to come and work with them. And I said, great. But I said, the first thing I'm going to do is we got to change their mindset. Because if a lady on welfare and that's what she thinks she is, you can give her typing skills, everything in the world. She's still going to go in that area thinking, I'm just a woman on welfare. So I said, mindset, that is one of the biggest pillars. You got to get them to think different. If they have a survival mindset, I've seen other programs. They teach those mechanics, interview skills, resume writing, and they get the job. And Charles, they don't even stay 30 days. And it's like, Dr. Banks, what's going wrong? And I said, well, you didn't ever get their thinking right. You taught them the skills, but you didn't teach them mental. If you don't deal with that, you teach them all of these skills, and soon as a, a inconvenience, because it's not an emergency, but soon as an inconvenience happen, they gone, because that's not how. Definitely is mental development. That's the first thing, mental development. Second thing is purpose. You got to help them discover their purpose. That is just a crucial thing. Once you got the mindset right, then help them to develop their purpose. Then you can start helping them with those proficiencies of interview skills, resume writing, work ethics. But that doesn't need to come first. You got to deal with what you're dealing with, that mindset first. So those are some of those strategic things that you got to put in place.
Let me just ask you this, because that sounds so interesting, to the fact that I've always talked about positive reinforcement. And so that's pretty much like what I like to see myself surrounded with. That's what I affiliate with. And, for those that may be struggling to get there, this is what I actually try to preach, to put them in that mindset.
That's right.
So can I ask you this? When you say mindset is first, so basically, let's say you got like a room of, let's say, 15 people, and you got all these different personalities where none of them are the same and there's not a lot of commonality. How do you actually change or mold those 15 minds?
Well, what I do is I use a thing called from survival to success. So what I do, I get on the board and I say, all right, all 15 of you, how many of you want to succeed? All hands are going to go up. All right. They're going to say, yes, I want to succeed. And I said, all right. So I put at the top, everybody want to succeed. But I said at the bottom of this, I said, everybody has the intentions of succeeding. But one thing that all of us have experienced is called life conditioning. All right. Life conditioning. Life conditioning is set up where first is familiarity.
Okay.
Basically doing the same thing over and over. And I'm always getting response. How many of you have seen yourself in familiarity? Yeah, Dr. Banks, I do the same thing over and over. All right. And then I said, the next one is facts. The facts. All right. Now, one thing about your mind, when it's understanding facts, is going to have a tendency to find out what you don't have. All right. So 15 of you, tell me some things you don't have. I don't have a car. I don't have a job. I don't have any money. And I said, all right, so familiarity, now you got the facts. Now, feelings. You guys tell me, how does it make you feel when you got these facts telling you what you don't have? Man, Charles, you get the response. Man, I'm pissed off. Man, I'm frustrated. Oh, I'm upset. See, I like that. And then I said the last one is fear. So now this is how all of you, even myself, this is how we've grown. We've grown in a culture of familiarity, facts, feelings, and fears. Now, Charles, like you said, all 15 are different, but guess what? All of them are humming from the same sheet right now. And I asked the question. I said, now, what did you guys say you wanted? Oh, I want to succeed. But I said, and then I say, how often do you deal with these four things? Familiarity, facts, feelings, and fears. Now I trick them and I said, do you deal with these things once a year? Now, Charles,
Oh
what do you
no,
think they're going to say?
that's every
Oh, Dr.
day.
Banks, that's what they say. Oh man, and man, they start gelling. Oh man, we deal with that every day. And I said, isn't it interesting? You want to succeed, but what do you see that you're entangled every day? Facts, feelings, fears,
Familiarity.
and I
Familiarity.
said, and familiarity. So I said, guys, this is what happens. You want to succeed, but you so entangled in these four, your mind tells you, maybe I know you want to succeed, but maybe you need to just settle.
Mhm.
And Charles, you could hear a pin drop. You could hear a pin drop. I said, guys, that's where you all are. Your mind has told you, I know you want to succeed. That is great, Charles. You want to succeed. But brother, look at here. You got a light bill that's due. You don't have a place to stay. You need a job. Your baby mama is trying to put you back in jail because you haven't paid child support. And I said, your mind says, brother, you better just survive.
Right.
And I got them all on the same sheet. And then I hit this major question. I first asked them, how many of you like this? How many of you like, man, I don't like surviving? And I said, how does it? Because see, I gotta get them upset.
Mhm.
I gotta get them so disinterested in surviving to get them open to hear about success. Because if they think that surviving is all right, why change? So I really stirred the pot. How does it make you feel
Mhm.
to want something and ain't got the money to get it? How does it make you feel when you go for an application, everything sounds good until they
Do
get
you
to,
know money?
have you had a felony? Yeah, everything was sounding great. They was like, man, can you start Monday? But no, we won't be able to help you.
Mhm.
And man, they really, and I said, guys, I can help you, but you got to listen. And I can help you. And I said, how many of you, once I get this pot stirring, I said, how many of you want to learn how to
Mhm.
succeed? I've never heard anybody say, no, Dr. Banks, I would rather just survive. Charles, I've never heard that. They all say, man, if you can help me. And I said, here's the biggest way to succeed. You got to learn principles.
Mhm.
You got to learn
Mhm.
principles. Society has made survival based on problems,
Mhm.
paycheck. But if I can give you some principles, that can be, and Charles, I've never had anybody to walk out and say, no, I'd rather just stay poor and stay. Never. Because everybody instinctively, they want to
Mhm.
succeed. Everybody. That's the way God
Mhm.
created us. And I always use this one. I love this one. I always have everybody to stand up because when I'm teaching, I got to realize I got to do
Mhm.
everyday language. These are not college professors. These are people in undeserved. So I always have to do visuals to get them to understand what I'm trying to do. So I always use this analogy. I said, all right, everybody stand up. And I said, this is not a trick question, but I'm going to ask you a question. I said, I need everybody to look down and see how your feet are moving. Your feet are moving which way? Forward. And I said, everybody touch your shoulders and just look down and just get a true understanding. You are designed to move
Mm.
forward. Everything about you physically.
Ooh, you better go ahead on with
I
that,
said,
dog. I was. Oh wow.
and I said, what I want you to write down. I am designed. Now, I said, now let me show you how powerful this is. I said, how many of you have some problems in your past? Yeah, yeah. How many of you dealing with some problems right now? Yes. How many of you are already worried about problems in the future? Yes. But I said, Charles, when you woke up this morning, which way were you going? I was moving forward. So I said, men, women, regardless of what problems you will ever have in your life, past problems, present problems, future problems, it will never interrupt how you were designed.
Mm.
Charles, brother. They said, and I remember one lady, she came back and told me, she said, Dr. Banks, I'm so excited. I got some great news. I got a job. And she said, let me tell you, when they, in my interview, they said, Janice, tell me about yourself. And she said, Dr. Banks, when they said that, I rose up in the chair and said, I am designed to
Oh,
move
all
forward.
right. See, I like that.
That person who interviewed her said, I like that. That's pretty nice right there. That's pretty nice. My friend, I love it, Charles. I love it.
Let's move over to your work in community engagement and legacy building. Can you tell us, what does community engagement mean to you beyond outreach?
Well, I think community engagement is let everybody share what they see in their neighborhood. I think so many times in community engagement, we try to come in like the heroes and, hey, this is what we think your neighborhood wants. Instead of really stepping back, this is y'all's community. All right. So community engagement to me is, hey, let's everybody have a voice. Let's everybody share. We want to hear from you. You tell us about your neighborhood. Like I said, the same way I do in my business as a consultant, instead of me coming in saying, you need to do this, no, I listen. And I just think that has helped so much because everybody wants to be heard,
Yes.
Charles. Everybody wants
Yep.
to be heard. And when you give opportunity, when you give communities an opportunity, you tell me because they've been there much longer than you have ever been. You don't even live in that community. So having them to share, this is our community. And then you're saying, hey, how can I help you of where you want your community to go? Sidewalks, street lights, what can we do to help you? So it's really, I always say, ultimately, you want to help people gain an
Mhm.
experience. I learned that from the philosophy of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, it's a chicken sandwich. It don't even have mustard or ketchup or lettuce or nothing. But why is it still one of the most popular restaurants and it doesn't even open on Sunday? Is because it's not really the chicken sandwich, it's the experience you get going
Mhm.
there. That little simple, my pleasure. You
Mhm.
hear me? And how courteous they are. It's an experience. And I think community engagement, people going in, helping people experience that they are heard first. That's what people want first. Let me share what I'm feeling. And then coming alongside of them, what can we do to really help preserve, not change, but help preserve your community? Because when they hear change, how people feel about
Mhm.
change. But let's preserve your
Mm.
community. That's a little bit more
Yeah, it
open.
is. How do you build trust in communities that have been historically underserved?
I think it always goes back to being a better listener, being a better listener, coming into the community and say, hey, we want to come in and just call it a listening tour. How about that? Let's just call it a listening tour. We're going to come in and let you guys talk
Mhm.
to us. We're not going to try to solve anything. We're not going to try to fix anything. Let's, because that's what normally happens. They go in, listen for a few minutes, and then immediately, this is how we need to fix it. People don't want their neighborhoods to be fixed. They want to share and see how you can preserve. So I think the best way to build trust in anything is listen
Mhm.
first. Let people get off the chest. If they are angry, let them vent, you know, but let people know. that what they see from their perception is valid.
And so, like, I know that, when you and I had were talking, prior to, I know you had mentioned something about some things that you do in the community. Like, you told me you do like the mentoring with the Black men, how you adopt a class and things of that nature. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. Um, I developed a curriculum called Boys to
Mhm.
Kings. Boys to Kings. And I went to an high school, inner city high school, and talked to the principal and said, "Hey, I want to spend some time with the young men, the
Mhm.
seniors, because at that time had a huge dropout rate, a lot of different problems, gangs and things." So I said, I want to come in and just spend once a week, come in and just take them through this curriculum, Boys to Kings, and just really helping them to understand their identity, helping them understand purpose, and had a guide come in, teach them how to dress. And that went over so well until the girls start, hey, what about what about us? So I developed one called Daughters of a
Mhm.
King, and I had some ladies to go in, and little things like that just really meant a great deal to the school, because after that, fighting start being reduced, self-respect was happening. So little things like that I have done. And adopt a school, adopt a classroom, another inner city school. I went to them and said, "Hey, I want to give back. I want to take a part of my business and invest into a classroom. So give me a teacher, give me a classroom. I can come in. I've written a book called Joseph Coat. It's a children's book helping boys understand their identity." So I said I would love to come in and read the book. So they allowed me to do that. And I remember I said it was the sixth grade. Sixth grade, they was having just a lot of different problems. So I was able to come in and really share with them and talk to them. So I want to talk to anybody that's saying, how can I make a difference? So many times we think it's the big things and the most expensive things. It's time. I spent 1 hour a week coming, visiting them, talking talking to them about their future. So, anyone that is listening to this and you're thinking, how can I make an impact in undeserved communities? Is your time. Invest your time and let them see that, hey, they are important enough that you would take time out of your schedule to go and visit them.
So, what's the role of storytelling in community transformation?
Ah, man, people remember stories.
Mhm.
People remember stories. So when you can help them write their own story, Charles,
Mhm.
that's a lasting legacy. So helping communities, let's write your own story. I've helped clients write their story in their lives of what they have overcome. And it just really produced a profound meaning to them. So storytelling, helping communities, helping families. Let's write your story and helping them to work through that process. What were you dealing with? How did you overcome it? What are you doing now? Or that's how you kind of compile the story. Where were you? What was going on? Just like you asked me, what really was I able to do to kind of change the trajectory in my life with my dad? So story is huge. Helping them write their story.
So, also, we had discussed, we do Black History 365. And I asked you who was the most influential person in your life, in your career. And you mentioned Martin Luther King. And so, let's talk about MLK's influence in Black History reflections. And can you tell us, why is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. the most influential figure in your life?
I think Dr. Martin Luther King, reading his story years ago, I took my sons down to visit his center in Atlanta and just looking at his philosophy. Charles, he was minding his own business. He wouldn't ask for this, but he saw a concern of how these black garbage men were
Hmm.
treated. He was minding his own
Yep.
business, but it came to him and he realized, people should not be treated like that. And I like that because sadly, culture thought it was all right.
Yes.
Culture, even laws were set up. You're a third of a man. And having one man decide, that is not right. I love that. Here is society thought it was all right to treat people that didn't look like you treated any kind of way. And here he is saying, that's not right. And guess what? Somebody should let people know that's not right instead of just accepting it because silence is basically saying you agree with
Yes,
it.
exactly. You're 500% right.
You know, Let- let's not talk about it. It's definitely not going to go
Mhm.
away. So that's why I love Dr. Martin Luther King, his philosophy, because he decided, even though culturally it's accepted, it's still not
Mhm.
right. I like that.
Mhm.
I like that because so many times we feel like, well, it's the law and it's culture. Everybody's doing it. Still doesn't make it right.
Exactly. Ooh.
That's why I like Dr. Martin Luther King. And that's what I look at my life. I got to tell you a quick story. I did a virtual marriage seminar in Pakistan.
Mhm.
A host couple said, Dr. Banks, we want you to do a marriage seminar virtually. I said, all right. Now, interesting enough, I didn't ask enough questions. So when it was through Zoom, when the screen came on, all of the men were sitting in chairs and all of the women, their wives, were sitting in the back on the
Yes,
floor.
that's Islam.
And I said, this this is not going to work for me. I got through it. I got through it. But the next time we had a marriage seminar, they asked me to do another one a couple of months later. I said, we're not going to do it that way. We're not going to do it that way. I know that's what culturally acceptable over there, but that's not how I'm going to do it. If I need to give you some extra money to get another chair for the woman to sit in, that's what I'll do. But when I do this again, I need the men and women to be sitting
Mhm.
together. And he said,
Mhm.
okay. And Charles, the
Mhm.
next time when that screen came on, those beautiful ladies, garments sitting beside their husband, you could see a sense of honor in them. And I think,
Mhm.
and how did I get inspired by that? By Dr. Martin Luther King. Stop thinking, well, that's their culture. So let's just work with it. No, no. We're not going to do that. We're not going to just let culture say that's all right.
Mhm.
It's not right. That's why Dr. Martin Luther King inspires me to no end because what he looked at as a cultural norm, he still said it's not right.
Mhm. And as you're saying that, what's so fitting is that with today, as I look at this milestone, being our 100th show, a 100th episode this season.
Excellent. Congratulations.
And then this is also the anniversary date of the I Have a Dream speech.
Oh my God. Look at there.
And, with him being, this most influential person in your life, in your career, which makes this all just,
Hey,
it happened to be that way. But, I just, I find it to be one of those things that I hope that those that are watching, especially, will just aspire to, at least go and listen to that speech again, if not just print it out and read it, because everything that Dr. King said on the Mall in 1963 is very much so relevant right now
oh my
today.
God. So true. So true. So
Yeah.
true.
And
Yeah. And
so,
that speech was so important because that speech spoke against what he saw in the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Having black and white children work together and play together. That was totally against what the cultural norm of what he was standing in. And that's awesome. And like you said, if we're not careful, Charles, we could be heading
Yes,
right back.
exactly. Exactly. What part of the I Have a Dream speech resonates most with your mission?
I like that. I don't think I'm quoting it well, but that part that says judging people by the content
Mm.
of their character, we've forgotten that. We spend too much time focusing on people's titles instead of understanding character. We see it a whole lot around us. Character now it has no value. And that's what grieves me because I'm a leadership expert and I don't care how much intelligence a leader has, if he doesn't have character, it means
It
nothing.
don't. And just as you say though, if there's no
And
character, I mean, there's no meaning really, because how can people take you at value if you have no character?
exactly, exactly. And what is that quote that says you can have charisma to get you to the position, but you better have character to keep you
Yes.
there. And I just see right now character i- is nothing. It doesn't mean anything, and that grieves me because if you don't have character, how can people respect you? You're not a man of your word. You say whatever you want people to hear, and you can change when it doesn't feel popular. You don't stand on anything. You move based on how people, and I'm just thinking that's a poor example. That's a poor example. And to have right now this culture to think, long as I'm smart, long as I'm smooth and I can manipulate and say a lie long enough to think it's going to sound truthful eventually. Charles, I'm grieved, my brother. I am grieved. This is a tough
It
time right
is.
now. This is a tough time because everything that I've taught, everything Dr. Martin Luther King taught, and all the people I aspire, this is just all of them understood everything starts with character,
Mhm.
integrity.
Mhm. How do you apply King's teachings to your work in business and education?
Well, I always, so many times we always have the mindset, well, we've always done it this
Yeah.
way. In business, well, Dr. Banks, I've always done it this way. In education, well, going back to Dr. Martin Luther King, okay, we've always mistreated Black people. We've always done that. Still doesn't make it right. So is inspiration to me, regardless of what, and it's amazing. Look at this. Everybody knows the definition of insanity is what?
The same
Doing the
thing
same
over and
thing
over
over and
again,
over, but
a
expecting
different
what?
result.
But you don't like where you are, and you're saying, man, I wish things would be different, but you continually do the same
Mhm.
thing. So you're hurting yourself. So Dr. Martin Luther King, his main focus of regardless of what seems normally society acceptable, degrading somebody else is not right.
Mhm.
And that needs to be addressed. And when I talk to business owners, I don't care how much you have done something in education. Well, we've always done it. If it's not working for everybody, then something needs to change.
Yes, it does. So can you tell us, what does the fierce urgency of now mean to you today?
Oh my goodness. I believe if we don't do it now, then when are we going to do it? We kick things down the road so much. And again, we have this mindset, hey, if it's not broke, What? Don't
Don't
fix it.
fix it.
That is totally against the urgence of now, because we in a society. When do they put up a red light? After somebody get in an accident and die.
Yes.
So we are reactive oriented. Look at the situation with the levees.
Hmm.
People knew about those levees a long time, but they think, well, it hadn't rained that much to mess it up, so let's not even deal with it. Look
Right.
what happened. So
Yeah.
it's so sad. We live in a society where we have to wait for destruction for us to address. But if we understood, I like this wisdom. This is wisdom says, a wise man foresees danger and he's take refuge, but a simple man keeps going and suffers for it.
Hmm.
I believe this mindset. Tomorrow starts now.
Hmm.
Whatever you want to do tomorrow,
Hmm.
you need to start working on it now.
Yes.
So we live in a society where procrastination is rampant.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll do it later. We'll do it later. So this fears of the urgency of
Hmm.
now, it really needs to be embedded in
Yeah.
us.
How do you honor King's legacy in your work, in your day-to-day work?
Well, again, like I said, every day when I'm looking, or whoever I'm working with, I'm always looking, how can we make sure we do things better that's going to benefit everybody? That's what I think. That's why my purpose to impact and empower people to succeed personally and professionally in order for them to be productive and fulfilled. So every day when I wake up, Charles, whoever I'm dealing with, I'm looking at how can we make sure things get better for you and better for people that work with you. And I think it really derives from this whole mindset of Dr. Martin Luther King, because that's what he had. Like I said, he wasn't looking for this. All right. It came to him. And he just had a passion. Everybody should be treated with
Yep.
respect. Everybody should be treated with respect. And when I work with big organizations, when I do team building and business owners, everybody needs to be treated with respect, from the janitor all the way up. Everybody needs to be heard and treated with the utmost respect.
So, final question for you. What lessons from King's leadership do you share with young professionals?
Ah, I think the biggest thing is don't just accept the status quo. Don't accept the status quo. I love that about Dr. Martin Luther King. He just didn't accept the status quo. So, any young professional, as you are moving out, just don't accept things as it always has been. Doesn't have to be that way, but be open, be innovative. Things are changing. Be open to new ideas. That is what I truly believe. To really just open up to the possibilities.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom, encouragement you'd like to leave for our audience? Telling them at least also how to connect with you on social media, tell them about your website, tell them how to get your books, all of that good stuff.
Excellent, excellent. Well, first of all, Charles, thank you so much, my friend, for giving me this opportunity. And I met you through
Mhm.
LinkedIn. So awesome. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. David Banks. And my website is davidbanks.metacard.ai, davidbanks.metacard.ai. And I'm on LinkedIn, and then I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Noble Tribe. And I think the biggest thing that I would leave with people is the power that you have to make a difference, the power of one. So many times, and we hear it all the time, Charles, if we all came together, we could do some great things.
Mhm.
Dr. Martin Luther King, he didn't think like that. Gandhi didn't think like that. Somebody has to start it. If we waiting to everybody get on board, as we see here, we in 2025, trying to wait for everybody to get on board to do something, that'll never work. Somebody has to spearhead it. Dr. Martin Luther King, he didn't wait till everybody got him together. Gandhi, you be the change. You make a difference. You decide, what can I do to transform somebody's life? If you do it, that can inspire somebody else to do it. But trying to wait for everybody to do it first, get on board first, that's not going to happen. If you decide, what can I do to transform society? You make that first move.
Well, I want to thank you for being a part of this show, for one thing, but also a part of this milestone moment because this season here again has shown the growth, of our show as we continue on throughout December, because the new season starts January of 26. And so, and just going through these seasons, again, there's been that change, but I think the change that is happening, especially in this form of Black media, is one that's going to be very captivating to those that are looking for those ways. And so, being that resource and helping people to find their way is what we do. And again, it's like to give that thanks to you for what you're doing, especially over there in Chattanooga, because that's very, very important, especially when you have pockets of people that have all the potential in the world, but if they don't know how to find that resource or that outlet to use those things or to get better in the things that they want to do, how can they do it?
So true. So true.
And so it's like, as you said, I have to give you credit for that too. This one thing as well is that unless some of us actually started, then we'll never begin. But if somebody else has already started and everybody comes along and do their part, that actually helps the village to get as large as possible. And so I'm having that dream. I am having that dream that is exactly what is going to happen, and we're going to be a part of that in some shape, form, or fashion. So
love it.
I thank you for being here, and I thank everybody that watched. And those of you that have watched the show, what you should have gotten from Dr. Banks is, you learn the things that you want to do better. You focus on the things that you want to do better, but you also find out how to make those things come to fruition by doing what's necessary. It all starts with you. If you're not doing your part, then how do you expect it to work? If you're doing your part, that's going to connect to another part, that's going to connect to another part, means that you're starting a chain reaction that's going to continue. That's what you want to do. The message Dr. Banks gave to us today is making sure that not only do you go through development when needed, but when you get out there and you are put on that stage, you're able to stand on that stage and you're actually ready for prime time. Because if you're ready for prime time when you get on that stage, or if you get on that stage, you're ready for prime time. You just got to show it. So let's forget about the past of what's happened there, but let's move forward. And in the process of moving forward, move forward with your best foot going forward, because that's what Dr. Banks says we gotta do. You gotta remember, you go forward, you're going forward. You're not going backwards, you're going forward. So I want to thank all of you again for watching the show. And for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, if you have not yet subscribed, please support us by actually subscribing to the channel, as well as getting all of the notifications. Therefore, you get all the shows live, as well as you're able to go back and watch all the previous recorded shows and get all of the knowledge and the best teachings that you could possibly get to help you to continue to move forward.
Excellent.
Thank you, Dr. Banks, for helping us celebrate this 100th episode of America in Black and White here in season 3. And I look
Excellent.
forward to all the good things that you're doing, and hopefully we will get the opportunity to have you back on the show again. And
That'd be great.
For everybody that's watching, we are having a special show that we will be doing on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys get that opportunity, I would appreciate if you please join us, because again, it's another great show here on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. Thank you, Dr. Banks. Y'all have a great evening, and we will see you guys on Sunday.